Welcome back, everybody. Now, having finished the last section, we are now going to move on to a new section of the course, and this section is all about answering the question, or in band descriptor terms, task response or task achievement. Now, if you want to score highly in this band descriptor category, you're going to need to focus on addressing the task requirements appropriately, accurately, and sufficiently. So one of the ways that we can do that is to have relevant and appropriate ideas. So this first lecture is going to be all about how to find ideas to create the content of your essay. I feel like finding ideas is a common anxiety among many candidates. It's one of the most common worries that my students bring to me. They tell me that they struggle to think of ideas. This seems to me to be not a problem of English ability or English command, but just a problem of being able to think about an argument for an opinion on the spot without much time in advance. However, there are two important things to remember when it comes to thinking of ideas. The first of those is that the quality of ideas is much more important than the quantity. If you are developing your ideas sufficiently, you shouldn't need many ideas in the first place. Really, you should only need about 2, maximum 3 ideas each. That's not many at all, is it? And once you have found your idea or your ideas, you can then develop them, which is much easier, much simpler, and does not require as much original thought. However, finding ideas is still a little bit difficult for some, so let's look at some ways that we can come up with ideas. Now, finding ideas is something that you can actually do on a daily basis. You can prepare in this regard on a daily basis. IELTS is an essay which aims to challenge you on a variety of topics. As a result, it's impossible to know which topic you'll have to write about. So the solution is to form an opinion on everything, and as I say, you can do this every single day. Let's have a look at an example. Trains, subways. Imagine you're waiting for a train. While you're sitting there, think to yourself, what could be done to make my experience of waiting for this train more enjoyable? What could the transport company or the government do to improve the quality of this public transport? What are the pros and cons of taking the underground versus walking or taking a car? So there's plenty of things that you can think about while you're just sitting and waiting for a train. Then when you get a question in task 2, which asks you to describe the pros and cons of public transport, then you will be completely prepared. You would have thought of some ideas beforehand, totally confident, go in, sit down, put those ideas onto the page, and then you just develop those ideas. We can think of many other scenarios as well. Let's consider these here. So ask yourself questions throughout your day so that you can form ideas and opinions on a wide variety of topics. Let's think about the news, for example. You sit down in the morning, you read the news, it's over your morning coffee. Instead of just sitting there and reading, ask yourself some questions. Are you using the internet right now? Or newspapers themselves? Or television? Why? Why are you choosing this medium over another medium? What are the pros and cons of each of these different formats? What do you think will happen to the news in the future? And how important is the media in creating public opinion? What could be done to prevent media bias? Lots of things we can ask ourselves about the news. What about mobile phones? So it's your lunch break and you're checking your phone during this hour. Instead of just scrolling through Facebook, you can ask yourself some questions. What did you used to do during your lunch break before phones became one of the central focuses of our lives? How have phones become so addictive? How has phone use changed over the last few decades? What could be done to prevent or reduce phone addiction? Why are some people so concerned about having the latest model? Number of different questions we can ask on what appear to be the most mundane of subjects. These are all things that will come up in the exam. Another thing you can do is to read newspapers. Read everything that you can, read a variety of different materials and explore a number of different topics, but newspapers in particular are a great way to learn about the opinions of others on lots of different topics and the arguments they have for those opinions. They're therefore very useful at helping you to think of ideas. Now, there's a great site out there called News in Levels, www.newsinlevels.com. And this is a website which presents English news articles in language which meets 3 different ability levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced, level 1, 2, and 3. I really would recommend you check this out if you haven't heard of it before. It's a really good way of learning typical journalistic language, typical essay writing language, and you will find an ability level which suits your current ability. Once you're comfortable at level 3 on News in Levels, you may want to try moving to real newspapers to get an idea for how English is written at a very, very high level. Here are some newspapers which focus on various different topics, so you have the opportunity to think about lots of different things. The Guardian, The Independent, and The Times. I read The Guardian. I think it's a great newspaper, but you're free to pick any of those. They're all very, very good, but make sure you check out newsinlevels.com. Really good site when you're trying to learn how to think of ideas. So, thinking of ideas. Hopefully, you'll go away and you'll take the advice here, and as soon as you close down this video, you can start thinking about the internet. Ask yourself some different questions on the internet, and this will help you to think of ideas based on that topic, and continue so forth throughout your week. So, that's thinking of ideas. I'll see you in the next lecture when we'll talk about how to develop those ideas.